Hello friends, Oscar watchers, people who are befuddled trying to figure out what the heck all happened last night. I am Eli Glasner, your entertainment reporter and film critic, and I am here on your Facebooks to explain what happened, how we had two Oscar Best Picture winners, and finally they resolved the confusion, and Moonlight has won the Best Picture, which is a remarkable win for this movie about a young gay black boy, a movie made with a minuscule budget, and yet it took home 3 big awards, but it was a long journey getting there, and I'm going to explain how things went wrong and finally right. Now, of course, we can answer your questions. If you have questions, you don't have to just watch me. You can interact, you can ask. I will see your questions on my phone, and I'll do my best to try and explain. But I think the question everybody wants to know the answer to is just what happened last night, and how did La La Land get announced as the Best Picture winner, and then they took that away and gave it to Moonlight. So here's what happened. There is an accounting firm, Price Cooper Waterhouse, and they are in charge of making sure the right envelopes go to the right people. And there are actually 2 members of that firm standing backstage during the show. Now here's the first surprise. There are duplicate envelopes for each category. So, for example, there is a set of winning envelopes on the left side of the stage. There is a set of winning envelopes for one of these guys, the Oscar, on the right side of the stage. This is a real Oscar, by the way, from 1937. I'll explain why in a bit. So, 2 sets of envelopes. As the show is going on, the accountants, the firm members, the ballot leaders, I believe they call them, are supposed to keep track of who's winning. And what essentially it seems happened is that Emma Stone won for Best Actress. On that envelope, it says Best Leading Actress, something like that. Emma Stone wins for that category. She gets her envelope. She accepts it, goes backstage. But there's a duplicate envelope on the other side of the stage. An envelope for a category which has now concluded. And that duplicate envelope for the Best Actress category somehow got into the hand of the Best Picture presenters, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. And then, if you go back and watch, as we've been showing you on CBC News Network, Warren Beatty reading the card for the Best Picture winner, you can see that he pauses and he looks down at the card. And at first it seemed as if he was playing it for laughs, kind of hamming it up with Faye, and you actually can hear Faye Dunaway saying like, "Oh, you're horrible," thinking that he's just trying to draw out the suspense. But now in hindsight, we can presume that Warren was confused because the card he was seeing would have read Emma Stone, La La Land. He is holding the card for the Best Actress category, not for Best Picture, and yet he shows it to Faye. Faye goes ahead and says La La Land wins, and so the filmmakers, the cast and crew of La La Land all descend on the stage, accepting the award, but then backstage there's a flurry of activity. LA Times has actually reported that there were stagehands running around saying he's got the wrong envelope. And so actually, if you watch the footage, you can see people running across the stage and kind of a hubbub increasing until finally Horowitz, Jordan Horowitz, the producer of La La Land, steps to the microphone, interrupts the acceptance speeches, and says, "This is not a joke, there's been a mistake, Moonlight has won." And so then, of course, the cast, filmmakers, the director Barry Jenkins, they're in shock. They're not sure if this has really happened, and they come up on stage. But now that we have a little bit of time to kind of analyze what has happened, you can actually look at close-up images of the envelope that was in Warren Beatty's hand, and it says on the outside of the envelope in gold type, the leading actress category. So ideally, Warren would have caught that, or someone from the accounting firm would have caught that. That didn't happen until La La Land was actually on stage, which is unfortunate, shall we say. And so now the accounting firm has actually issued a statement apologizing, explaining what happened. The wrong envelope got into the presenter's hands, and they will investigate. But certainly, this entire incident looks very badly on the Academy, the producers, and the accounting firm. Now I'm going to take a look at my phone and see So, was Warren handed the wrong card? Yes, he was. Warren was handed the wrong card, the card for the Best Actress category. Think that this was fake to make up and get attention? No, I do not. I mean, yeah, we all like it when things go viral, and it's tempting to believe in conspiracies. You know, it's a simple explanation to a complex situation. The Academy does not want this kind of publicity. This looks ridiculous on the Academy. This embarrasses the Academy, and it hurts both La La Land and Moonlight. Imagine thinking you won for Best Picture, going up on stage, beginning an acceptance speech, the moment so many filmmakers work towards, and then realizing it was a mistake. You have to slink off stage, and then the members of Moonlight come up onto stage, and yet even as they were giving their acceptance speeches, you could see they were a little hesitant because this is so unprecedented, and they weren't sure to believe it themselves. So I don't think anybody wanted that to occur, and I think it looks badly on many parties, and I don't think it was fake. Rob Ayer likes my blazer. Thank you. I think it's Ben Sherman, but I'm not sure. It's been a while. Again, I mean, someone else, Kyle, says, this seems like a setup and a trend to get media attention like never before. I just can't believe that. I think the simpler explanation is that there was a mistake. That's the problem of this situation, is that there were duplicate cards. And clearly, Cooper Waterhouse needs to come up with a better system, perhaps a system where there was only one set of winning envelopes, so you won't have that kind of mistake. Or after each category is introduced, the duplicate envelope on the other side of the stage is shredded or destroyed. But because you had that extra envelope that was never handed to Emma Stone, that is how it got into the hands of Warren Beatty. And so the question is, I don't think it's Warren's fault. I don't think it's Faye Dunaway's fault. I mean, ideally, it would have been nice if they looked at the card and actually stopped to ask and say, wait, hold on a second, this says Emma Stone, is there a mistake? They didn't do that. They soldiered on, and that's unfortunate. But the person whose job, presumably from the accounting firm, it was to hand that card to the presenters, that's where the mistake occurred. And we haven't heard yet from the firm exactly how did the wrong envelope end up in the hands of the presenters of the Best Picture category. Is there going to be a penalty to the accounting firm? I think there will be. I mean, I wonder if there'll be, I don't know how. There are many other accounting firms in Los Angeles and America. I would be amazed, although I imagine there's some history with the Academy, if they invite them back, or certainly if they invite them back, maybe they'll get them at a discount. Fran Wiskin says, it would be a big letdown for sure. Should have been handed out more status. Why not? Both were great. I mean, here's the thing, like Big Picture, and both sides, both members of La La Land and Moonlight, have been incredibly generous and I think dignified with how this played out and their responses. And you've got members of, people like Barry Allen and Mahershala Ali both talking, praising La La Land, saying it's an inspiring film, it's the kind of buoyant film that we need right now. And you have people like Emma Stone talking about she loved Moonlight, and of course she wanted to win Best Picture. But, you know, the way that this played out, you know, she's happy for them. She's sad that she didn't get Best Picture, but she's happy for them. Haven't heard from Damien Chazelle, the director of La La Land yet, and that's interesting. So I did see an image, justifiably, as you would imagine. He looked very crestfallen as the news broke. But yeah, I mean, look, you have the two films that won the most last night are La La Land and Moonlight. Those are two fantastic films, and I thought La La Land was going to win, and I would have been very happy with the result. The fact that the Academy actually chose Moonlight as the Best Picture, this tiny film with a budget of what, like $1.5 million, a movie about a young black boy growing up gay in Florida, also struggling against poverty, very much a movie about someone who is marginalized, not a mainstream film by any means, a movie that asks a lot of the audience, a movie that kind of challenges you to follow things as its character evolves. The fact that the Academy responded to it and decided that is your Best Picture for 2016 is remarkable. myself and many other critics thought it would be La La Land because it's the easier choice. It's a colorful slice of escapism. There's some other things to it also, but certainly it's a more kind of conventionally entertaining film. You know, this brings to mind what happened when Brokeback Mountain lost to Crash. I mean, Crash was seen as like, it's a movie about racism, but a little pat, whereas Brokeback Mountain, a movie about, you know, these cowboys who were lovers, certainly groundbreaking at the time, and maybe the world should have been ready, the Academy wasn't ready. Well, they were ready last night. It's remarkable what happened. Moonlight deserved to win, and it did win, but unfortunately, the way it played out, it kind of casts a shadow across their win, and you have to feel for the people that are on the Moonlight production in the how it played out. They didn't get to express themselves the way they liked. At the end of the day now, you know, this fury, this controversy will fade, and they have those trophies. They have a trophy like this, but it is unfortunate. Before I look at my phone again, I'll just explain what this is. So there's a producer on the morning show, and his great uncle was, I believe, the screenwriter who won this award, and this is the award given to Norman Reilly Rain for writing the screenplay of The Life of Emile Zola from 1937. This is a real Oscar. It's really heavy. They're made of bronze, and yeah, just in case you were wondering that. Now, back to the phone and to see what you have to say. Fazal says, do you think the Oscars included diversity in the awards? I think they did. I think it was a remarkable show last night, and I think it shows both the changes that you're seeing in the industry at large and the changes that you're seeing in the Academy. The Academy, since the Oscars So White hashtag has been trending, has been very aggressive in terms of bringing more people of color, of all colors, into the Academy, both in front and behind the camera. Now, that's a very small percentage of the larger voting body, so perhaps also there was a feeling of responsibility that we need to be more open-minded or progressive in terms of our choices. But regardless, we had some amazing wins last night in terms of diversity. Mahershala Ali winning for Best Supporting Actor for Moonlight, first Muslim actor to win in that category. Viola Davis winning for her powerful performance in the movie Fences. Moonlight's win. Barry Jenkins winning as a co-screenwriter. So that's why I saw trending last night, not Oscars So White, but Oscars So Right, as in R-I-G-H-T, as in they're finally getting it right. I mean, the Oscars are only a tiny slice of a much larger industry, but it does set trends and have an effect, and it does feel that the industry is turning a corner, and certainly certain important parties are listening. Let's move on and take a look. Margaret says, most older people need to wear glasses. That's saying, with Warren Beatty being older, it is not easy to read things properly. I've done quite a few times when I read stuff. Mistakes like this do happen, and it is not political or anything else. I wouldn't say it's political, and it's possible he had trouble reading the card or he just saw the title. I would say, though, that he looked like he was confused. And I would think if that was the card that said Emma Stone and La La Land, he knows what category he's reading. He's not reading an acting category. He's reading a Best Picture category. The only thing on that card should be the producers' names, perhaps, and the winning title of the winning film. And so I think that would explain the confusion. I mean, I think Beatty's a great guy, and I'm hoping he's not being hung out to dry because of this. As I explained before, it is not his fault. The fault lies in the person who handed him the envelope. I think it's unrealistic to expect the presenters to double-check every envelope. That's why there are supposed to be other checks and balances in place to prevent this thing from happening. I'll explain that again. Brett says, why do they have the extra envelope? You'll have to take it out with the accounting firm, but according to articles I've read, including interviews with the firm from last year, there are duplicate sets of all of the winning envelopes on either side of the stage. Presumably, it's just to kind of save time because actors and presenters enter from either side, so you don't want someone holding the one box with winning envelopes running back and forth. But the problem is, what happens to those duplicate winning envelopes after that category has been handed out? In this case, an envelope for Emma Stone stuck around and then was handed to Warren and Faye Dunaway. Paul says, other gaffe last night during the in memorandum, Janet Patterson is still alive. even more embarrassing than the Best Picture envelope gate. Yeah, so Janet Patterson was pictured in the In Memorandum segment in place of another costume designer whose first name is Jan, and last name I don't quite remember, so I'm not going to say it improperly here. But essentially you had a person who is alive presented in place of someone who has passed away. What makes it worse is that they both were friends, and Janet actually spoke about this last night, saying she was devastated, that error occurred. No, it's not. You can't compare that to getting the Best Picture wrong. I mean, certainly that's hurtful for Jan and Janet, but I don't think that comes close to the flub, if you can even call it that what happened with the Best Picture. Let's move on. Aaron says, the Better Picture won, which is always a surprise when it comes to the Academy. Will this catalyze a new trend for the Academy Awards? And so, I'm going to take a sip of water here, because I've been up for a long time. And it's interesting in that I think the tendency, especially when you're in my job and trying to predict these awards, is to be very cynical and to expect that people are going to play it safe and just vote for the movies that just make them feel good, essentially. Which is why I would say most critics predicted that La La Land would win and in fact kind of steamroll over the entire evening. It went into the show with 14 nominations. The fact that Moonlight won Best Supporting Actor, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Picture is remarkable for a movie with that kind of content and a movie that is kind of more of an art film than a traditional kind of mainstream picture. So will it catalyze a new trend? I mean, I think it shows that the Academy is really embracing amazing, challenging works of cinema, and that's encouraging. And that, the next time I'm making my predictions, I'm going to maybe not second-guess myself and not expect people just to pick the easy choice. It will be interesting to see what follows with this, but it really is, remarkable. I mean, movies like Moonlight don't come along every day. It's kind of like a once-in-a-decade kind of thing, but it is quite something that it did so well. Oh, someone's adding a photo of Jan Chapman was used for the late Janet Patterson. So there you go. Thank you for that information. Ed Reddy says, Eli, can you walk us through step by step on how they announce a winner? Okay, step by step. You have your presenters. Your presenters are backstage. Someone, presumably from the accounting firm, hands the presenters an envelope. The envelope has a card inside which says the winner's name and perhaps the film title. Presenters go on stage, they open the envelope, and at that point, before they open it, the only people who know the true winner are members of the firm and then the presenters as they're reading it. Now, there are members of the accounting firm on both sides of the stage, and they are there to prevent errors. What they have said in previous interviews is that if something goes wrong, they're there to let the stagehands know immediately and deal with that situation as it develops. That's what they've said in previous interviews. And so that's essentially what happened. The problem is, I don't think the official members of the firm, Price Cooper Waterhouse, I believe, realized the error in time to prevent the La La Land team from taking the stage. Michael says, given that there are much more important things in the world, do you think that this frivolity is unnecessary? It's the return of my favorite friend, the why do movies matter? Why are you talking about this question? Which we get pretty much every time I do a Facebook Live. And I'm happy to answer after I take a sip of this delicious coffee. Why do movies matter? Why does this frivolity matter? Because when you nominate and when a movie about a young, gay, black boy struggling through poverty, slipping through the cracks, who finds a way to get a leg up and comes to peace with himself, thanks to everything from a drug dealer to his high school friend, when you have the chance to show that kind of movie to an audience of millions, the Oscar telecast, that makes a difference. This is a little art film that won't have even a tenth of the audience of the Transformers, but the Oscars gives it a fighting chance and will mean millions more will eventually see this film. And I do believe great art can affect people and can change minds. And sure, all of these movie stars are well compensated and they live great lives and they get gift bags and all of that. And we can make an argument for like true equality some other time. But is it worth it? Is it important? Is it meaningful? Yes, yes, and yes. To be able to reach someone like that, to sit down in a dark movie theater and see the life of Chiron, the main character from Moonlight, and to have that experience, I believe that can change minds. I believe that's a beautiful and meaningful thing. And that's why, beneath all the glitz and glam, it's important, and how occasionally the Oscars can make a true difference. Let's take a look. Adam Taylor, don't the actors pay a lot to lobby the Academy? The actors don't pay a lot to lobby the Academy. The studios pay a lot to lobby the Academy. Well, no, that's not true. They don't lobby the Academy. They lobby Academy voters. So I just recently finished doing a segment talking about how Oscar campaigning, here's our friend Oscar. So these little things are worth about, well, it costs about $900, but studios will spend about $10 million per Oscar campaign on things like newspaper ads, sending out DVD screeners to voters, on television ads, on luncheons, putting the movie stars in the right place. They'll spend something like $10,000 for Oscar consultants, who are essentially consultants helping studios with those Oscar campaigns. So there's a lot of money that goes into that Oscar race. Studios do think it pays off. It pays off in a combination of prestige and also box office, but I think for a lot of studios it is bragging rights. The actors don't ask the studios to lobby. They might behind the scenes, but really it's more the studios and the distributors deciding to spend that money to try and get one of those. Let's take another look. Andrew Matheson asks, how did Hacksaw Ridge do? The one film that I actually watched this year. Hacksaw Ridge did surprisingly well in a couple categories. Film editing, it won, bit of an upset. I picked La La Land, some others picked Moonlight. Neither of those won. And it also won, I believe, in one of the sound editing or sound mixing categories. And Mel Gibson was seen giving kind of a fist bump from the stage to his editor. So yeah, Hacksaw Ridge did all right. Surprisingly, was not a big fan of that film, but Mel's going to be back in action. He's in the mainstream right now, and I think he's reportedly in talks to direct the next Suicide Squad, which, if you've seen Hacksaw Ridge, you can see how that would be a good fit. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, favorite moment. Favorite moment. I think my favorite moment was Mahershala Ali when he accepted the award for Best Supporting Actor playing Juan, and when he talked about thanking his teachers and being in service to the story and to the character, and talking about the character that he played, who was Juan. If you haven't seen it, I mean, Moonlight, hopefully it's still playing in some theaters across Canada. It really is quite something. I have a review pinned to the top of my Twitter page right now of it. And in that movie, he plays a drug dealer named Juan, a drug dealer who has a relationship with the main character, this young little boy named Chiron, his mother. So he's feeding this kid's mom drugs. He's not what we'd think of as a good dude, and yet he's also someone who reaches out to this young boy when he can see this boy is in trouble, actually hiding from bullies. And that's what's so pleasantly unusual about it, is that you see a character like that on screen, someone who's dressing with the bandana and a bit like a gangster, and you kind of put him in a box. And then he gets out of that box, and he surprises you with his home life and his empathy. And that's really what the movie is about at the end, is empathy. And I mean, it's been really interesting. We talk about the diversity issue right now in Hollywood, and you look at Mahershala Ali, you look at David Oyelowo, you look at Chiwetel Ejiofor. I mean, these are all names that didn't originally come tripping off my tongue, but now we're learning to say the names and appreciate these fantastic actors, and Ali, you are going to be so sick of this guy. He is going to be everywhere. He's one of these actors right now who is just exploding. And it was interesting, he was saying backstage how, you know, he liked La La Land. He didn't get to look at the script for La La Land. He didn't get those kind of parts. Maybe that too is changing. But that was a beautiful, I really enjoyed that moment. Yeah, I also enjoyed the Jason Bateman, Kate McKinnon bit where they came on and did a bit of comedy. Not a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel last night. I'm putting in my 2 cents. Next year's Oscar host, Kate McKinnon. I think she's just great, kind of great wacky energy. Let's take a look at the little phone. Arrival should have won for editing. That whole film rides on the edit. I totally agree. I think Arrival should have been a contender in a lot of categories, like gorgeous production design, sound for sure, which is maybe why it won one of the sound categories. Canadian Sylvain Beaumard winning for a sound editor. Villeneuve did not win. I have a lovely story, if I do say so. I had a chance to sit down with Denis Villeneuve for an extended feature for The National, which you can find on the website. He's an amazing guy who's just going places. He's finishing up Blade Runner 2049 right now. But you talk about the editing of Arrival. It's interesting. As I was preparing to interview Denis Villeneuve, I had a chance to read the screenplay of Arrival to refresh my memory. And what's interesting in the editing is it seems like whenever there was information that would really explain the puzzling story at the heart of Arrival, the editor chose to pull back and leave it more of a mystery, more enigmatic. And I think that's part of what makes the film so rich, in that you almost have to view it a couple times to truly appreciate it, but it really is quite something. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up because things are slowing down, and I've explained everything that needs to be explained about the Oscars. But thanks so much for watching. This is Eli Glasner, your entertainment correspondent, talking about those Oscars. And keep watching on the website and the rest of the day as we try to get to the bottom of what happened last night. Have a great day.